Hello and welcome to my channel, it's Kerry and Stitches, and in today's video I am going to show you how to turn a plain wooden box you can get from any craft store into a lovely finished treasure box for a gift for yourself, for whatever you want it to be. So stay tuned as I take you step by step through the painting, finishing and making of the inside of this sweet little box. So here's the equipment for our decorated box. So wooden box of some description, you can get these from pretty much any craft store. This particular one, as you can see, was £2 and it was from the works. Also got an emery board just to sand out a few of the rough edges. See, some paper would do just as fine. Fabric to make the pincushion lid and for a base in the bottom of the box. Some felt just to create the puffiness of it. 2 pieces of mat board. I keep all my offcuts, so it's always easy to do. Acrylic paint, nothing expensive, just basic acrylic paint from any craft store. My furniture finishing wax by Rustoleum. This is the same one as I use for my picture frames and shadow boxes and all sorts like that. You'll need some glue or some double-sided tape to secure the fabric around your foam core for the lid. Obviously your stitched piece and any trims or anything that you might want to do with it. You'll also need paintbrushes, craft knife, pencil. The way I made my templates for the lid was I took my box like that, placed it on a photocopier, which gave me the template like that. So as you can see, that's from the box, because this box has actually got, it's not quite curved. Quickest way to make a template. And I think that's everything. So the first job I'm going to do is I'm actually going to remove the hinges and the closing thing. It just gives it just that a better paint finish. So I shall be back in a moment. So I've removed all the brass bits from the box. So the box is now in 2 pieces. I'm just going to pop a lid on that so they can stay nice and safe. Now, as you can see, there's a few rough edges. These really are inexpensive boxes. So I'm just going to take an emery board and just sand them off. Because this was really soft, you really need to be gentle as you're with your sanding. So that's why I quite like emery boards, because they really are fine. So bottom's all nice and smooth. Taking all the rough bits off that side. Let's do the same with the top. So you can see it just needs a bit taken off here. A bit of a rough edge there, so I'm just going to sand that round. There. Great. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give that a quick wipe over with a damp cloth just to make sure there's no dust or anything left on it, and leave it to dry for a short while. So my box is all dry and I've mixed up the colour of paint that I want to use. As I said, this is just basic acrylic paint. Just making sure there's no random light bits still in my pot. I'm going to paint the whole of the box inside and out. As you can see, I'm just popping the paint on. Make sure I can get in all the gaps, although there will be something covering this. It's just nice to have a complete finished box if you wanted to change the fabric at some point. So I'm actually painting in with the grain of the wood here, just to give it a better finish. The nice thing about using acrylic paint is it does dry quite quickly, so you can get those second coats on if you need them. I'm really pleased with the purple colour. I wanted to try and match it to the threads I'd used in the design and to my fabric I'd chosen. I'm not being particularly precise with this, or I'm just getting coverage. No expensive paintbrushes. These are just basic, inexpensive craft paintbrushes as well. There we go. So that's the inside of that box done. I'll do the box top in a bit, the edge of it. So let's just get some paint on the inside of the lid. There we go. So nice and quickly with the paint. Looks like the lid might need a couple of coats. So just paint in the inside, and I'm going to leave this to dry just a little bit before I paint the outside. And whilst these are drying, we can start making our fabric to go in our pin cushion to go in the lid. So by painting with the grain, just ensures you get a good coverage, and it also looks a bit nicer with the because you might see, well, you will see bits of this edge, so I do like just to paint with the grain. Okay, so we just got this last end to do, and we are done. Oh, a bit much paint there, but never mind, it'll be fine. There we go. Just go around the edge just to make sure I've got everything there. And I'm just going to paint okay. So whilst my box is drying, I do like to give the paint overall 24 hours to dry. I just feel I don't want to get any paint on my stitching, so I think that's always just a good thing to do. So I've cut, using my photocopy template, I've cut some foam core. So I've cut 2 pieces of foam core. These are scraps, as you can see. They've got tape on and stuff on. And I've also cut my felt. This is just basic acrylic felt, and I've cut for the bottom base because I want the box to have a nice cushiony base, it's going to have, I've got 3 layers of felt the same size as my foam core. And then for the lid, I've done a little graduation, and I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 there. You could do it with 8, you could do it with less, but that's about the depth of the inside lid. So, because actually, as you can see, that's a very thin lid on it. So that's about the depth of my inside lid. I've also cut 2 pieces of as you can see, I haven't even ironed them. 2 pieces of fabric. These are around 8 by 6 inches. One's actually slightly smaller than the other. So all I'm going to do is place it over the top. I really like that purple flower, so I want to make sure I've got that. And then I'm going to glue this on, making sure I pull it nice and tight around the edges to fit in. And then I'm going to do the same with the top. Again, just finding a nice bit of the pattern. These are just fat cords I happen to have in my stash. You could use, see, this was from a fat quarter, but if you've got something smaller, easy enough to it would be easy to use other offcuts, perhaps for a project where you've used for backing or something. So I'm going to flip that over, and then just using a bit of tacky glue, I'm going to do one side. And then do the other. I'm just making sure I'm actually pulling really quite tight. As you can see, that's pulled nice and tight. And I can manipulate with the glue just to make it just pull a bit tighter. So I'm actually going to let that dry whilst I do this one. Let's just move that up a little bit so I've got something to tuck around the edges. That's just basic tacky glue from craft store. So again, I'm going to leave that to dry. I've also cut ready for my stitch piece. I'm just getting the glue off my fingers, and that's going to go top of there. You can choose to do it on a bit of cardboard or just mat board rather than foam core if you want, and I'm happy that that's a good fit. So I'm just going to hold that up to the window just to jig it into the right place. I do find sometimes actually using a small piece of double-sided tape just to keep the felt in place is really handy. So again, I'm just holding it up to the window just to get mine centered. Oh, sticky fingers. I'm just going to trim some of this off. The design is a freebie by, think who it's by in a minute. Homespun Elegance. So I am going to, you can use stitchery tape if you would prefer. You can even lace it. I'm just going to there you go. I'm happy that's in the middle. Oh, that's come unstuck again. So it's not so easy with the Ada, so I'm just going to pop a couple of clips on it just to hold those two edges in place. And we'll come back when all the glue's dried. So as this glue's dried a bit now, I'm just going to finish off the end. I've just cut a bit of the excess fabric out just to make it easier to fold in. This does get a bit messy. So I do two, one side, and then pull in the other side a couple of times. And then we're going to move a bit of that glue about. So we've got some glue there. And then we're happy with the finish on top. I'm just going to put a couple of little clips on it. Right, so put a spot more glue on that one. And what we'll do is when this is all done, don't worry, the clips won't stick, is we will pop just a piece of cardboard on the back or some paper just to give it a cleaner finish. So if you do want to pop them out, it's easy to change the fabrics or the look of your box, or if the fabric just gets a bit grubby. So we're going to leave all that to dry, and I'm going to do the same with the stitch piece, and I'll be back in a bit. As the boxes are pretty much dry now, I can't see anywhere that needs touching up at the moment. Oh, possibly a bit there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the rest of it. Again, trying to go with the grain of the wood just to get a better finish. And just nice and quick. There we go. So it's almost that one done. There we are. Nice finish on that. And again, going with the wood grain on the edges. Don't worry about the holes of the metal bits, because they're easy enough to screw back through. So I'm going to get these painted and I'll be back in a minute. So now that my box top and bottom are all dry, I'm going to do some finishing. That's my finishing wax. It's the Rustoleum furniture finishing wax. I've chosen to use a paintbrush this time because the woods are a bit rough. I don't want to let any fluff or anything get stuck in it. So I am just going to paint the wax on. Over the whole thing. It's quite good because you can see where you've missed it because it's a bit shiny still. This only takes about 10 minutes to cure, this wax, but I tend to try and leave it overnight. I'm just going to do the sides. Don't worry about the holes of your box, because it's easy just to fill in. They're easy just to screw through, so that's fine. So there we go. So that's the top pretty much done. I'm just going to get rid of any of the lumps that are on there. Right then, so, and then I'm going to carry on and just do the inside. I know that there's some stuff covering this, but so once it's all, so I'm going to carry on and finish this, the top and the bottom, and I'll come back and show you how I do the next step. So now that the wax is all dry and everything, and I'm just going to finish putting the metal pieces back on. As you can see, oh, there we go, that's one. Let's just push that one up a bit. So there we go, there's all my fittings back on. Let's move that out of the way. So next up is we're going to attach our piece to the top. As you can see, I've been round and I've just attached cording. I used the Vonner tutorial. So I'm just going to, now it's all dry, just pull out my pins. Let's just put them in that tin there. All I did at the end was I just took it to the middle, folded it up and just glued. It really is rough and ready on the back. And I'm going to place it on my box. I've also got a couple of little things just to pretty it up at the sides. So I've got a couple of little cotton reels which I've got the same floss on. These actually I bought as half cotton reels like so from TP Crafts. They do a lot of miniatures and cotton reels and things, so I'll link their website below. So I'm just going to wind a length of thread round. This is actually a Jodrell Designs thread. This is called Peacock Garden, Peacock Feathers, Peacock something or other. And I'm just going to put a dab of glue on the back. Let's do it from that bit there. There we go. So I'm just going to let that one dry. So all I'm going to do is just get my piece centered on my box, and then I am going to use some, I'm not going to worry about putting anything on the back of this because it's a bit bumpy on the back. Plenty of glue. Ooh, but not there, don't want the glue there. And let's just pop that off a second. Yeah, I think that's about centered. I'm just going to push it down for a minute, and then I'm going to find something heavy and I am going to put it on top of the piece for a good 24 hours. I'm going to attach, let's use the glue on my finger, attach my cotton reels. You could paint these cotton reels if you wanted to, or they're actually absolutely covered in glue. And I'll get just a bit of cloth, and I'm going to mop up any excess glue. So that's for that bit, and I'll come back and just show you the inside of the box in a moment when everything's dry. So now the glue's all dried, near enough. All it's left to do is to pop in the top and the bottom, and they're snug enough that they're not going to fall out when you close the lid. And then got a nice home for your scissors. You can always pop a couple of pins in the top. Like so. And any other odds and ends you want to keep stored in here. And then closes up just like that. Makes a lovely gift, or a retreat, swap, or anything like that. Treasure box, tooth fairy box, you name it, you could do this for this finished. So until next time, friends, take care and happy stitching.